creature that came from Hadrosaur, and you got 10,000 of those, but you got nothing in between. That's called sampling. And why it is that Stephen Jay Gould and others have agreed that there's a stabilization in the fossil record, and then a jump, and then a stabilization, and then a jump. But if you're terraforming a planet, you don't need the whole gradation, absolutely every significant difference. You only would need enough to cause the environment that you want to arrive. So it makes sense to me that we should have, in what should be a randomized process, of a specific creature which lived in a specific kind of environment, that we would see jumps in the fossilization. So when, to me, you would never hear me ask, where's your transitional fossils? Because that makes sense in the story. There shouldn't be transitional fossils. There should
how do
be
you dodge
jumps.
the question by
that totally is fine with me.
diverting on to evolution?
We find transitional fossils, though, don't we?
We always say there's a necessary significant
He's so
jump
good
between
at the
the ones that we do
obfuscation
find. We
tactics.
find multiples of the ones we do find, and we don't find things.
Let me find the common enemy.
You can look
which
at
are
any
the
chart. One of the
creationists.
longest chart is the Cetus
It's
chart,
bizarre.
from Pakicetus to dolphin and blue whale, and you'll find that there's like
It's not even a word salad. It's just a
1, 2 missing,
It's just a
one
series of
1, 2, 3 missing,
non-connected
1, 2 missing, and that's the whole
nonsense.
chain. It's very neat.
This series of
very
assertions
nice.
should not be respected.
But we say there must have been these 2 that are missing. There must have been these 3 that are missing. And that's the case in all the charts. We don't have a continuous gradation of anything.
So you think?
But we have multiples of what we do find.
So did the Elohim
Oh, what?
genetically
Fossils?
engineer,
What is he talking about?
all the living creatures of Earth?
No, that on their Earth. I'm gonna call it Satan's home planet.
Okay, which
just
Earth
for
is he talking
on
about?
Satan's home
Ours
planet
or
was a
theirs?
naturalistic, although extremely unlikely process that resulted in the
Satan's
variants
home
that we
planet?
see. And when they were brought here, they evolved further because that's what stuff does.
Yeah, I missed this.
And that's not a
chapters of the
problem
Bible.
either. So what we see here are samplings of things, which is why
need to
we're
smoke
missing
weed he
things,
smokes,
because
bro.
this is a sample.
Oh yeah. I don't know if he'll
It's
come
in
back.
First,
I'll be right.
first up my ass.
What books are you getting the Elohim creating us? Does that come from like Sitchin's interpretation of the Sumerian tablets?
I never read scholarship on a religion. I only read the religion. Okay, and I wouldn't call Zachariah Sitchin a scholar
Oh my
either.
God.
And there's a video on Digital
can't trust some
Hammurabi
scholars.
tired bitching about
They're controlled
Sitchin.
by Satan.
Everyone who thinks Sitchin might be valid should go watch that. Sitchin can't be valid.
Because that was gonna because the criticism of his interpretation, and I went down that rabbit hole.
Fuck is he going on
here
about?
recently? I was trying to stay away from it, and I still went down it. Right? But
I'm done.
yeah, like
y'all have a
he's
blessed
very,
night. I can't do no more
very loose with
medicine.
his interpretation. A lot of scholars
serious.
actually
Peace.
interpret
Adios.
the tablets say
Yeah.
it's not a legitimate interpretation.
Yeah, I'm persuaded it's not, but I don't need it. It's so prevalent in the stories that I think it's unavoidable. Like, here's an interesting thought. Why don't we ever have a god like boring up out of the planet instead of coming from the sky? It's really easy for things also to hide in the ocean, and we've recently invented some stories like that where these powerful beings come out of the ocean. But that's not a traditional view of where these powerful beings come from, or digging up out of the crust.
I don't know
That's a pretty new idea too.
mean,
You are self-muted on
you pause the tape?
StreamYard.
Yeah, good.
The Transmedia talks about the DMT elves, and like when you smoke DMT, you feel like you're deep underground in like this underground space. So there's and I'm pretty sure there are like ancient narratives about underground gods or like stuff like that. So I think he's just wrong about that. But go on.
Got you. Thanks.
I must have messed with my microphone. I stepped on my cord.
Do you think he was tripping or something
I'm not sure.
when he had his revelation?
Don't quote me on this, but I do remember reading that the USSR had.
Good question.
I haven't heard him describe it, but he could have just been
They had
hallucinating.
discovered.
You need to ask about
Or it could just be a
testimony.
delusion.
Undersea. I don't think they ever.
Sometimes it's hard to
identified it.
distinguish between
It could
delusion and
very well just
hallucination.
governments are far more advanced than we know, but definitely I remember reading about the USSR because they released their UFO files well before we even really started to release ours.
Did they?
Yeah, back in the day.
There they are, leading the way again.
We also got like the details about their sick experiments trying to like intertwine humans and animals. It was nasty shit going on back then, and the good old USSR.
Well, don't think that we didn't try stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
It's just you don't know about it.
We just never released our information.
Yeah, that would be a bad idea. That makes us look like we're not very nice, and the American people have standards. Okay, so yeah, so I think the story is so often so prevalent. The idea of coming down from the sky and these powerful beings and them having flames and stuff they can produce, like upside down flames shooting downward. That's a crazy idea 1,000 years ago, even 500 years ago. The idea of having an idea shooting, the idea of a flame shooting downward is like insane. Just that by itself.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how the hell would you do that?
There's a story in Lot, I believe. I think the story of Lot, or no, it's not Lot. It's in the Gospels. It's two of Jesus' special disciples, because Jesus had special apostles. Peter was a special apostle, and then I think it was James and John, but they're called the Sons of Thunder. They call them that a couple times, and there's an instance where the Sons of Thunder bring fire down from heaven. And yeah, I mean, like, to me, like, there's really no way in the modern day that you can read that passage and say it could very well be interpreted to be a third, Close Encounter story, like some kind of major technology in the sky that these people have control of.
And that's not only in the New Testament, not that I require Christianity, and the Bible itself, but it's in the Old Testament too. These worshipers of Baal, which just technically means wrong god.
The story of Lot.
That's all it means. And their high priests set up this sacrificial altar, and they cut themselves and they pray to the god. Not everyone gets the Hebrew idiom. The prophets of the correct God, they go, maybe your God is busy. That word busy there means on the shitter. Maybe your God's on the shitter. That's what they say. But then they even douse their altar in water, and a fire comes down from the sky and lights the altar. I mean, come on, guys. That's some kind of power weapon. It's some kind of energy weapon. That's what's being talking about right there.
Fuck off.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems to me like it is describing something in the heavens that is some power source at least, and that it went away because we don't see that happen anymore, right? Like, it's
well,
not something that really
again, I
happens
think
anymore.
this is prophetic, and we will see it in end times, or whoever's alive for end times will see it.
Oh, that's right. It hadn't happened.
But it's not hard to explain as soon as you say galaxy crossing technology in a space-based society of human beings. Would they have an energy weapon like that? Well, gosh, I can't imagine why they wouldn't.
Well, so I'll say this, and then I'll open it up. We're at about an hour point, so I'll open it up. If anybody would like to come in and ask Richard questions about this, I'd like to stay on this, and then, at some point we can move on. And I told Richard he doesn't have to stay all night. Like, y'all know, like, once I get going, I'm going. So
have people been created yet in Richard's mind? Because the Bible's all prophetic, and it hasn't happened yet?
Like, I can find it. I can read the Bible and I can look at it with fresh eyes and I can see exactly what you're talking about. I think that you can interpret it to be, like I said, a close encounter of the third kind type of story. But I'm still able to kind of be really skeptical about that in the same way of that I am in the modern times with, so many people experiencing UFO stories or seeing spaceship craft. I know the whole city of Phoenix practically saw something in the sky one night. It's fucking crazy. But I'm very skeptical of it because I just don't think that they had the ability to get here. So I can kind of dismiss it like, human beings we're very capable of deceiving ourselves, of thinking we see something that we don't see. That's why, eyewitness testimony is really not that reliable in court. I mean, they'll use it to try to paint the narrative, but they understand it's not really a reliable testimony because we don't remember what we see, really. So our minds can be really tricky, and I think that if it's possible for people to do that in the modern times, it would definitely be possible for people to do that in the ancient times.
Sure.
But it flies right in the face of what all history, tradition would say about not only Christianity but what Yahweh is, the definition of Yahweh.
Well, here's the problem, Rage. They are conflating the words the Father with Yahweh. And here's why I don't. And it happens more than once in the story. If you think back to Aaron and Moses, Moses is told that he is to be the conduit of God, right? And that Aaron is to be the prophet of God and speak to the people. Because Moses is quote unquote slow of speech. I could do 2 hours on why he's slow of speech, but so it says quite directly, and you will be as God to Aaron. You will be God to Aaron. If you take out that conjunction that doesn't belong there, you are God to Aaron, basically. Well, does that mean that Moses is literally the God? No. And who the hell would read it that way? But they'll read the Father as God, even though the Father is being as God to the Son. That is, he's the conduit. It doesn't make him the God. And it can't be the God because in the description of that the God, Jehovah, it says God Spirit, not God person. It never says God person or anything that can mean person. It always talks about these immaterial constructs and all the repercussions like empathy, humanitarianism, love, understanding, those kinds of ideas. But it can't have a personality. Now, the greater question there, the immediate question that follows is, can something without consciousness make commands? Well, yes, of course. Aren't you given rights and restrictions by the Constitution? Isn't that just super obvious as soon as you say it?
Yeah, I personally don't think the Constitution should be set in stone. I think,
well,
maybe every 100 years or so, just have an automatic
nice review,
automatic review or rewrite. Apply it to the society you live in the modern day. Definitely get the whole great compromise out of it.
Yeah, stuff like that. The outdated stuff, get it out. Yeah, but I can definitely say something like, the U.S. Constitution commands thee, thou shalt not kill. Well, yes. Obviously, right? But that is an actual command of it. Even though it doesn't speak for itself, there are people who speak for it, even enforce those kinds of ideas, like the right to life. For goodness sakes, you can't just go around killing folks.
Yeah, I haven't read. If I lose my lighter, the Ten Commandments in a while. But I remember most of them are just common sense shit, aren't they?
The second half, yeah, pretty much. Like how to stay out of trouble with your friends and family.
All right, so the room is now open. If anybody wants to come in and hammer Richard Madsen, feel free. Usually, what usually happens with Richard is it becomes a kind of a love fest, because most people like Richard. I think most people understand that Richard is genuine. He believes everything that he has said tonight. He honestly believes it. I don't think that it's so far-fetched as what Christians, like normie Christians, believe, but you do consider yourself a Christian, right, Richard?
Well, I try to follow the example of Christ, so literally that makes me a Christian.
Yeah. That's always been kind of, I know Christians are playing this no true Scotsman game, and I think, some people will point to Scripture for what makes a true Christian or whatever. But I think, like, if you believe that Jesus lived, not the historical Jesus, but like actual Jesus Christ, and you believe that he died and resurrected, then you're a Christian. Now, you believe all those things, you just think it's going to happen in the future, right?
I think for this planet, it happens in our future at the end of this planet, just like it happened at the end of their planet. It's all the same. So same plan every time.
Do you think like things like climate change, is that just or man-made climate change, is that supposed to happen to kind of lead to the end of the planet?
It's part of the reason they have to pull our butt out of the fire that we cause.
So they understand that just by our nature we're going to pretty much destroy the planet?
Yeah. That's what we need saved from, is our own stupid ideas.
Yeah. So you think Satan's the bad guy, the leader of the Elohim?
See, but that's the problem. If I submerge myself in H2O and I try to breathe, that's an evil for me. But it's not an evil for a fish. So I don't think that the Satan and his kind are evil in of themselves. They're not intrinsically evil. They're probably super logical and practical.
No, I haven't.
We might find that sort of thing, off-putting.
All right, so do they not talk? Do they not come back to Lena? Is that what I'm gathering? Because I don't want to do 3 more hours of Richard Madsen.
I have a feeling, they're probably going to come back to that at all.
Yes, it's all right. This fucking messed up. All right, let's do something else. I was thinking about putting on The Wire.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, let's do that.
Oh shit, I gotta go to bed. I didn't realize what time it was.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
All right, I'll put on something. I'll put on like a channel overnight or something.
Yeah, you can put whatever you want, but yeah, I gotta get to work tomorrow.
Yeah, I should go to bed soon too, actually. So try to get to bed sooner. Start going to bed earlier.
All right, well, it's been fun. I'll see you guys later.
See you later. All right, I'll put on a couple videos and then I'll probably put on something overnight and get back to work tomorrow. I'm gonna have to do some testing here to figure out what's going on with all this.